Hi and welcome to this video where I'm going to go through a short sequence of movements that I've personally found really helpful for a stiff and achy lower back. Not so much for acute pain. If you've got disc issues or anything like that, I'd probably rather see you in person, but if you've had an extended sitting period where you've been working a lot, or you've had a long drive, or you've had a few nights where your sleep's not been great, and you just generally feel a bit stiff, this is what I've been doing, and it's had really good feedback in my classes recently, so I hope you find it useful. Okay, so I'm going to start with coming into a stretch here where I'm going to straighten one leg out and bend the other knee. I know this is a yoga pose, but I don't know the name of it, but I'm just going to call it a back stretch. If you are quite tight in the hips, you might want to put a cushion underneath your bum to make it a little bit easier to reach and lean. You might also, if your knee hurts in this position, you might also want to put something underneath that leg to support it a little bit. That's totally fine. And also, if you struggle to reach for your foot, you can use a strap, right? So I'm going to do it without the props, but I just wanted you to see that, you know, you can make the movement more available to you if you struggle to sit in this position. So what I'm going to do first of all to stretch the side of my lower back is I'm going to turn away from my straight leg. So I'm going to sort of turn towards the bent knee, and then I'm going to lean to the side, and I'm going to bring my arm inside that leg so that I'm using it as a lever to turn myself to the side. And you might have enough going on there, and that might be fine. If you feel okay to take that stretch a little bit further, reach the arm up nearest your bent leg and lean more to the side. And so you can just kind of wriggle around in that until you find a position that feels all right. And you can let your weight come forwards a little bit and turn and shift within that stretch. You can reach the arm up, you can reach it further over. And all of that is changing what's happening at the side of my waist here. And before we change legs, I'm going to come up and I'm going to turn towards the straight leg now. And so this is going to be more for the middle of the lower back. I'm going to let my head drop and I'm going to roll down. And again, this is where I'm going to take hold of my foot, but if you can't reach, grab a strap. And I'm just going to let my head hang. My foot's relaxed, and I'm using my arm strength to pull the foot towards me. And if you had a strap, that would be exactly the same. You'd just be holding further away. All right, and I'm going to switch legs. So I'm going to straighten the other leg out. Again, use props as necessary. So by all means, put something under your knee, put something under your hips. Turn away from your straight leg. Bring that arm inside the leg and reach the other arm up. And you can kind of stay there for a moment. Check whether your shoulders have tensed up. Check whether your jaw's tense. Move around a little bit within that stretch so you can turn forwards and lean around a bit. And then I'm going to come up and turn towards the straight leg and roll forwards. Take hold of the foot, use a strap if you need. All right. Then I'm going to come out of that, and I'm just going to move these out of the way because you don't need props for this next one. But here I've got my feet nice and wide. Again, if you're comfortable sitting up like this without your hands on the ground, then that's fine. If you need to lean back and have your hands back here, so if I show you from the side just quickly, If you struggle to sit up like this, so let's say your back's really rounded, then I'd rather you kind of lean your hands back so that you're more easily able to sit there comfortably. All right, so I'm going to let my knees drop to the side a couple of times and bring it back up and drop to the other side. So again, you can have your hands back here so that you're taking the weight off and you don't have as much pressure in the front of the hips. Once you've done that a couple of times, I'm going to stay to one side and I'm going to lean towards the knee. So I'm just going to kind of lean forwards here. And you can play around with just letting your upper body scan side to side a little bit. Play around with where it feels heaviest. If it feels all right to do so, you can let your hands come off the ground. So there is more load that way, which is giving me more stretch in the glutes. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to do that to the other side. So I'm going to roll my knees and lean forwards towards that knee. You can have your hands on the ground, or you can have your hands off the ground. And you can just play around with where you're putting your weight. Sink as low as you want if it feels comfortable. Stay up further up here if that's as far as you're going, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to drop my knees to the other side again. And, you know, again, you can be doing that with your hands back here. And it might be that you've always got one hand on the ground if you're feeling particularly stiff. But I'm going to lean further forwards this time. So I'm going to kind of lean forwards towards the shin. Again, you can use your hands to pull you forwards, or you can choose not to have your hands there so that you're coming into more of a lean. I'm just letting my weight move around a little bit. And I'm going to come up and drop to the other side and do that here. So rather than leaning here to my knee, I'm going to come forwards, and that just varies what's happening at my hips. So it's changing which bits of my muscles I'm stretching. And this time I'm going to drop my knees over to the other side. And I'm going to bring my hands, instead of forwards, which is focusing more on my glutes, I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to take my hands back around towards my pelvis. And here I'm pushing my foot and my knee into each other as I'm twisting around. And that's giving me a twist in the waist and the ribs. And it's also opening this bit of my hips here a little bit. And I'm going to drop to the other side, twist around, pushing the foot and the knee into each other, pushing my hands into the ground to encourage the twist further round. And then I'm going to do that again to the other side, and I'm going to come down onto my elbow and feed my hand through that little gap. So I'm coming into a stronger twist. So here I'm going to use my breath to stretch my ribs, which I generally do in any rotation. And I'm going to come up and drop to the other side, take my hands back, drop down onto the elbow and feed my hand through that little gap. Take a few deep breaths, focusing on sticking to a nose breath. Notice if your breath is restricted in a rotation. Your belly's relaxed and you're using your breath to stretch your ribs. All right, and there we go. That's my little sequence that I like to go through when my back's been feeling particularly stiff. I generally feel a bit easier, a bit freer when I've done that kind of movement. Use props as much as you need to. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it as useful as I've been finding it. As always, questions and comments are welcome. Let me know how you got on with it. And don't forget to hit subscribe because I'm putting a new video out every week.